Well, hello there. It is really nice to see you again. It is time for our Bible story lesson. I have to tell you, the coolest thing happened. I got pictures from kids in Brazil about last week's story. Is that not cool? So they're going to go on the website. If you're watching again, my new friends, I am so glad that you're part of our little group. And, you know, if you're living someplace other than Brazil, you probably should send me a picture too, because last week it was Brazil 3, rest of the world 0. So let's work on this. Let's think about these stories. Let's grow together. I am delighted to be having this conversation with you. So if you remember where we left off last time, Joseph's brothers have come back to Egypt to buy more grain. And because they had to, they have brought Joseph's little brother, Benjamin, with them. This is the first time Joseph has seen his little brother in 20 years. It's very exciting. It's very emotional. And remember that Joseph put a party on. There was a big banquet room in his house, and there was a table for him and a table for the Egyptian guests and a table for his brothers. And he had lined his brothers up by age, which really freaked them out. And he had fed them from his own table, which also freaked them out. And he had given Benjamin 5 times more food than he gave anyone else, which was just weird. And when we left right there, we didn't know what was going to happen next. Remember, Joseph knows who they are, but they don't know who he is yet. They're just worried. So anyway, this meal ends, and Joseph calls one of his servants over, and he says, "Come here. I want you to fill those guys' bags with grain, and I want you to put their money back in the bags again, just like you did last time." And the guy says, "Got it. And just one more thing. You see the little one down there with the mountain of mashed potatoes in front of him? Put my silver cup in his bag too. You know, the nice one. The one with all the jewels on it, the fancy one, put that in his bag too." And the servant didn't know what Joseph was doing, but it's not his job to ask any questions. He just said, "Yep, that's what I'll do." And so when the boys went to bed, the steward put the grain in the sacks, put the money in the sacks, and put the silver cup in Benjamin's sack. Very early the next morning, because it was so weird, the brothers were eager to get on the road and get out of there. And so they headed down the road. They hadn't been gone very long at all when Joseph sent the servants after them. And the servant said, "Hey, wait up, guys!" Right? So now we're out in the desert, right? We're a little ways out of town. Right? "Wait up! One of you stole my master's cup." And the brothers said, "We certainly did not." "Well, you did. It was there on the table, and now it's gone. We didn't have any other company other than you guys, so one of you guys stole it." And the brothers said, "We didn't. You can search us, and I'll tell you what. You find the cup in anybody's bag, that person dies, and the rest of us will be your slaves." And the servant said, No, that's ridiculous. That's crazy. But if I find the cup, that person's going to be my slave. That's for sure. Stealing a cup from my master, that's unacceptable behavior." So they put their sacks down and they started opening their sacks, and Reuben opened his sack first. Remember, he was the oldest, and there was the money. And he got scared. They went right down the line to all the other brothers. Open the sack, there's the money. They are scared out of their minds. This is so weird, because it looks like they stole the grain again after they brought back the money the last time and said there had been a mistake. And here it is again. They get to Benjamin's sack. They open Benjamin's sack. There's the money and the silver cup. The servant said, "I knew it. I got my thief. Kid, you're coming with me. You're going to be a slave for the rest of your life." All the other brothers are horrified. They pack up their stuff and they go back with Benjamin, with the servant. They go back into Joseph's presence. They fall on their faces in front of their brother Joseph, and they begin to plead with him, "Please, please don't do this. Please don't make Benjamin your slave." Judah says, Can I talk to you just for a minute? Just please hear me out. Listen, our dad is really old, and he really loves Benjamin. A long time ago, he lost Benjamin's older brother, and he has never gotten better. And I promised him that I would take care of Benjamin. So I am begging you, please, you don't owe me anything, but I am begging you, please let Benjamin go home, and I will be your slave forever. You have never seen anybody work the way I'm going to work. I am going to do every day exactly what you say. Just let Benjamin go, because it'll kill Pop if Benjamin doesn't come home. Joseph knew that his brothers had changed. He knew that Judah had changed. Judah wasn't the same guy who said, let's sell him, talking about Joseph all those years ago. Joseph had real trouble keeping it together. He was very emotional, and he said to his servants, get out, get out, get out. Leave me alone with these guys. And all the guards and all the servants left the room, and Joseph started to cry, and he said, brothers, it's me, Joseph. How do you think they felt? I bet they were scared out of their minds that this guy that had so much power and had all these servants and all these soldiers working for him, that was Joseph, their brother that they had sold into slavery 20 years before. Joseph cried, and he said, don't be afraid. What you did to me, that was awful, but God set it up. God did it so that I could take care of you and your families. The famine we're in, it's only 2 years into it. There's 5 more years to go. You need to go home and you need to get Pop. I will take care of you. Now the servants that Joseph had sent out of the room, they were listening at the door, and they heard Joseph crying, and they overheard what he was saying. And one of them ran to Pharaoh and said, Joseph's brothers are here. Did you know he had brothers? I didn't know he had brothers. Did you? I didn't know he had brothers. And Pharaoh loved Joseph. Remember, Joseph is keeping Egypt afloat right now. Joseph is feeding the people. Joseph is keeping the peace. Pharaoh loves him, and Pharaoh sends a message, listen, I hear your brothers are here. I'm sending wagons. We're going to send wagons back. You should get your Pop. You should get your brothers' wives and their children, all of their possessions. Bring them back down here to Egypt. We're going to take care of them. We're going to set them up. Don't worry about a thing. So that's what you should do. And Joseph, of course, listens to Pharaoh. And Joseph says to his brothers, I want you to go home. I want you to get Pop. I want you to tell them that I'm still alive. Can you imagine how scary that would be? We'll talk more about that next week. And get your wives, get your children, get all the animals, the flocks and the herds. You come back down here, and I'll take care of you. Because God has set this whole thing up so that you could be protected. And he sent gifts home. He sent donkeys and presents. He gave each of his brothers clothes. Of course, he gave Benjamin 5 times as much clothes, and he gave Benjamin a whole bunch of silver to take with them. And they headed back up the road to Canaan with these gifts and these wagons and these donkeys to finally tell their dad the truth, to finally admit what they'd done, and to tell their dad that Joseph was alive and waiting for them in Egypt, and that they were going to move. Isn't it a cool story? Don't you want to know how it ends, how that conversation goes, what happens next? That's next week, I'm afraid. But for this week, I would love to have you draw me a picture of any part of this. I would love to have you send me questions. If you have questions that you want me to answer for you or talk about with you, you'll know what to do. We're having this story time remembering that God is so good and so strong and so wise, and that God has a plan, and God's going to take care of his people, and God's going to take care of you. I love spending this time with you. Cannot wait till next week. You be good. Study hard in school. I'll see you soon. All right. Bye-bye.